Yegon Florence Jamatia. Baringo Central, Kandie Joshua Chepyegon. Baringo North, Kipkoros Joseph Magilap. Baringo South, Kamuren Charles. Baringo South, Kamuren Charles. Belgut, Koech Nelson. Bobasi, Momanyi Innocent Obiri. Bobasi, Momanyi Innocent Obiri. Bamachoge Borabu, Barongo Nolfalson. Bamachoge Chache, Alpha Miruka Ondieki. Bomet Woman Rep, Lynette Jebkorir. Bomet Centro, Kilel Richard Cheruyot. Bomet Centro, Kilel Richard Cheruyot. Bomet East, Yegon Richard Kipkemoy. Bonchari, Onchoke Charles. Bondo, Ogola Gideon Ochanda. Borabu, Osero Patrick Kibagendi. Budalangi, Wanjala Rafael Sauti Beta.
Honorable Pareyo. Order. Honorable Agnes Pareyo. Can you take your seat or I'll nullify your vote? I see you walking up and down again and your vote will be nullified.
Bumula Wamboka Nelson Jack.
No.
Catherine Nanjala. Bura Yakub Ado Kuno. Bureti Komingoi Kibet Kirui. Busia Woman Rep Omanyo Catherine Nakambi. Butere Mwale Nicholas Tindi. Butula Oyula Joseph Maero. Butula Oyula Joseph Maero. Butula Oyula Joseph Maero.
No.
Mburi Rindikiri Muruidhania. Imenti Centro Kirima Joseph Nguchine. Changamwe Shimbwa Omar Mwinyi. Changamwe Shimbwa Omar Mwinyi. Chebalungu Koech Victor Kipngetich. Chebalungu Koech Victor Kipngetich. Cherangani Barasa Patrick Simiu. Barasa Patrick Simiu. Chesume Biego Paul Kibichi. Chuka Iganga Ngombe Ntuiga Patrick Munene. Chuka Iganga Ngombe Ntuiga Patrick Munene. Dadab Farama Alim. Dagoretti North Elachi Beatrice. Dagoretti South John Kiarie. Dagoretti South John Kiarie. Eldama Ravin Musa Sirma.
I vote yes.
Eldas Welie Keinan. Elgeo Marakwet Woman Rep Jepto Ngelechei. Embakasi Centro Gadiro Mejadong. Embakasi East, Babu Owino Paul. Embakasi East, Babu Owino Paul. Embakasi North, Gakuya James Mwangi. Embakasi North, Gakuya James Mwangi. Embakasi South, Mawathe Julius Musili.
I vote no on the
Embakasi West,
overtaxation.
Mweje Mark Samuel Mureithi. Embu Woman Rep, Double N Pamela Njoki. Mgwen Lelmengit Joseph. Emuhaya Omboko Milemba. Emuhaya Omboko Milemba. Emurwa Dikir Johanna Ngeno. Endembes Pukose Robert.
I vote yes.
Fafi Yakub Farah. Fafi Yakub Farah. Funyula Oundo Wilberforce. Galole Said Buya Hiribae. Galore Said Buya Hiribae. Ganze Tungule Charo Kenneth Kazungu. Garissa Woman Rep, Siad Udgon. Siad Amina Udgon. Garissa Township, Deko Mohamed Baro. Garsen, Guyo Ali Wario. Garsen, Guyo Ali Wario. Gatanga, Mureu Wakili Edward. Gatundu North, Njoroge Kururia. Gatundu North, Njoroge Kururia. Gatundu South, Kagombe Gabriel. Game Elisha Odhiambo. Game Elisha Odhiambo. Gichugu Githinji Robert Gichimu. Gichugu Githinji Robert Gichimu. Gilgil Martha Wangari. Githunguri wa Muchomba Gathoni. Githunguri wa Muchomba Gathoni. Hamisi Gimose Charles. Hamisi Gimose Charles. Homabay Woman Rep Bensuda Osogo. Bensuda Osogo. Homabay Town, Kaluma Peter George Opondo. Igembe Central, Daniel Kili Karido. Igembe Central, Daniel Kili Karido. Igembe North, Mnaiba Taitumu Julius. Igembe South, Mwirigi John Paul. Igembe South, Mwirigi John Paul. Ijara, Abdi Ali. Ikolomani, Shinali Bernard Masaka. Isiolo Woman Rep, Bonaya Mumina. Isiolo Woman Rep, Bonaya Mumina. Isiolo South. So Isiolo North, Lomwa Joseph. Isiolo North, Lomwa Joseph. Isiolo South, Tubi Mohammed. Tubi Mohammed. Jomvu Badibadi Toalib. Jomvu Badibadi Toalib. Juja George Koimburi. Juja George Koimburi. Kabete wa Mashukuru James Gedua. Kabete wa Mashukuru James Gedua. Kabondo Kasipul, Eve Akinyi Obara. Kabushai Kalasinga Joseph Simiu. Kabuchai Kalasinga Joseph Simiu, Kacheliba Titus Lote, Kacheliba Titus Lote, Kaiti Kimilu Joseph, Kaiti Kimilu Joseph, Kajiado Woman Representative Sankaire Lea Sopiato, Kajiado Central Kanchore Memusi, Kajiado Central Kanchore Memusi, Kajiado East Hamisi Kakuta Maimai, Kajiado North Ngogoyo Onesimus, Kajiado North Ngogoyo Onesimus, Kajiado South Sakimba Parashina, Sakimba Parashina, Kajiado West Sunkuya George, Kajiado West Sunkuya George, Kakamega Woman Representative Mohanda LC Bushilie, Kaloleni Katana Paul Kahindi, Kaloleni Katana Paul Kahindi,
I vote no.
Kamu Konji Hassan Abdi Yusuf, Kandara Njuguna Chege, Kandara Njuguna Chege, Kandui Makali John, Kandui Makali John, Kangema Peter Irungu Kihongi, Kagundo Chule Fabian Muli.
Yes. I said yes.
Yes, it's there.
Kapenguria Samuel Moroto Chumel, Kapenguria Samuel Moroto Chumel, Kapsaret Sudi Oscar Kipchumba, Kapsaret Sudi Oscar Kipchumba, Karachuonyo Adipo Andrew,
No. Amesema no. Give him the mic.
Karachuonyo
I vote no.
Kasarani Karauri Ronald Kamuiko, Kasarani Karauri Ronald, Kasipul Charles Were, Kadiani Robert Mbui, Keio North Kipsanai Adams Korir, Keio South Gideon Kemayo, Keio South Gideon Kemayo, Kericho County Beatrice Kemei, Kericho County Beatrice Kemei, Keses Julius Ruto, Huisero Aseka Wangaya Christopher, Huisero Aseka Wangaya Christopher, Kiamba Wanjiko John Jogona, Kiambu Waithaka John Machua, Kiambu Waithaka John Machua, Kiambu County Ann Wanjiko Mugo Moradha, Kibra Peter Ochieng Orero, Kibwezi East Mbalu Jessica, Kibwezi East Mbalu Jessica, Kibwezi West Mutuse Mwengi Ekomas, Kieni Anthony Wainaina Njoroge, Kieni Anthony Wainaina Njoroge, Kigumo Joseph Munyoro, Kiharu Dindi Nyoro, Kiharu Dindi Nyoro, Kikuyu, Kimani Ichung'wa. Kilgoris, Sunkuli Julius. Kilgoris, Sunkuli Julius. Kilifi County, Mbeyu Gertrude Mwanyanje. Kilifi County,
Mbeyu, I vote no.
Kilifi North, Baya Ya Owen.
I vote yes.
Kilifi South, Richard Ken Chonga. Ken Chonga, Kilifi South.
Absent. Even Dindi is voting online.
Kilome, Kidhua Nzambia. Kilome, Kidhua Nzambia.
Absent.
Kimilili, Didmas Mutua Baraza. Kimilili, Didmas Mutua Baraza. Kiminini, Kiminini, Maurice Kakai Bissau. Kinango, Kinango, Samuel Gonzirai. Kinangop, Kwenya Dhuku. Kinangop, Kwenya Dhuku.
Yes.
Kipipiri, Muhea Wanjiku. Kipipiri, Muhea Wanjiku. Kipkelion East, Cherorot, Joseph Kimutai.
Yes.
Kipkelion West, Hilary Kiplangat Kosgei. Kirinyaga County, Maina Njeri Jen. Kirinyaga Central, Gitari Joseph Gachoki. Kirinyaga Central, Gitari Joseph Gachoki. Kisauni, Benziba Rashid Juma. Kisauni, Benziba Rashid Juma. Kisii County, Donya Aburi Doris. Kisii County, Donya Aburi Doris. Kisumu County, Busia Ruth Odinga. Kisumu County, Busia Ruth Odinga. Kisumu Central, Joshua Oron. Kisumu East, Ahmed Shakil Shabir. Kisumu East, Ahmed Shakil Shabir. Kisumu West, Rosa Mbuyu. Kitui County, Kasalu Irene Mudhoni. Kitui Central, Makali Benson Mulu. Kitui Central, Makali Benson Mulu. Kitui East, Mbai Nimrod. Kitui Rural, Mboni Mwalika. Kitui Rural, Mboni Mwalika. Kitui South, Recho Kaki Nyamae. Kitui South, Recho Kaki Nyamae. Kitui West, Nyenze Edith. Kitutu Chache North, Nyakundi Japheth. I vote yes. Kitutu Chache South, Kibagendi Anthony. I vote no. Kitutu Masaba, Gisairo Clive. Kitutu Masaba, Gisairo Clive. Konoin, Yegon Brighton. Konoin, Yegon Brighton. Kuresoi North, Kiprono Mutai. Kiprono Mutai. Kuresoi South, Joseph Tonui. Kuria East, Kitayama Marwa Maisori. Kuria West, Robbie Mathias. Kuria West, Robbie Mathias. Kwale County, Masito Fatuma Hamisi. Kwanza Wanyonyi Ferdinand. Lafe Abdurrahman Mohammed Abdi. Abdurrahman Mohammed Abdi. Lakdera Mohammed Abdikadir Hussein. Lakdera Mohammed Abdikadir Hussein. Laikipia County, Jane Kagiri. Laikipia East, Kionjuri Festus Mwangi. Laikipia North, Korere Sara. Laikipia North, Korere Sara Paulata. Laikipia West, Karani Stephen Washira. Leisamis, Lekuton Joseph. Leisamis, Lekuton Joseph. Lamu County, Marubu Monica Mudhoni. Lamu County, Marubu Monica Mudhoni. Lamu East, Rueda Obo. Lamu West, Moirore Stanley. Langata, Felix Adiwor Kode. Langata, Felix Adiwor Kode. Larry Kahangara Joseph. Larry. Likoni Mishi Mboko. Likuyani Mugabe Innocent. Limuru John Kiragu Chege. John Kiragu Chege. Loima Akuja Protas. Luanda Oyugi Dick Maungu. Luanda Oyugi Dick Maungu. Lugari Nabi Naboera Daraja. Nabi Naboera Daraja. Lunga Lunga Chiforo Mondo. Chiforo Mondo Mangale. Lurambi Mukhwana Taitas Hamala. Lulambi Mukhwana Taitas Hamala. Maara Kareke Mbiuki. Maara Kareke Mbiuki. Machakos County, Kamene Joyce. Machakos County, Kamene Joyce. Machakos Town, Caleb Mule. Magarini, Kombe Harrison. Magarini, Kombe Harrison. Makandara, George Aladwa. Makadara, George Aladwa. Makueni, Suzanne Dunge Kiamba.
Makueni constituency vote no.
Makueni County, Mumo Rose. Makueni County, Mumo Rose Museo. Malava, Ichendi Malulu. Malindi, Amina Mnyanzi. Malindi, Amina Mnyanzi. Mandera North, Basil Sheikh Abdullahi. Basil Sheikh Abdullahi. Mandera County, Umulkhel Sheikh Hasim. Mandera County, Umulkhel Sheikh Hasim. Mandera East, Abdurrahman Hussein Waitan Mohammed. Abdurrahman Hussein Waitan Mohammed. Mandera South, Haro Ibrahim. Mandera South, Haro Ibrahim.
No, you are saying yes. No, wait.
Mandera East.
Order.
Mandera.
Order, honorable members. The member has voted already.
Yes.
Carry on.
He voted yes.
He's not sure. No, he's not sure.
You can't vote twice.
Order, honorable. Order, tell us. Order.
I vote no.
Yes. No, you won. Yes.
He voted yes.
Go on.
Mandera South. Mandera South. Haro Ibrahim. Mandera South. Haro Ibrahim. Mandera West. Yusuf Adan Haji. Mandera South. Haro Ibrahim.
Yes.
Mandera West. Yusuf Adan Haji. Manyata Mukunji John Gitonga.
Yes. Why are you whispering? No, amepika yes.
Maragua Mary wa Maua.
Mkunji amesema yes.
Marakwet East Bowen Kangogo.
Yes.
Marakwet West Toroitich Kipchumba Timothy.
Yes also.
Marsabit County Wako Naomi Jilo. Masinga Mwalio Joseph Mbidhi. Masinga Mwalio Joseph Mbidhi. Matayos Odanga Geoffrey Makoha.
I vote no.
Madhare Anthony Oluoch. Madhare Anthony Oluoch. Madhioya Gichuki Edwin Mugo.
Yes. Mathioya yes.
Madira Eric Mwangi Kahugu. Matuga Kasim Sawatandaza.
Yes.
Matungu Peter Oscar Nabulindo. Matungulu Stephen Mutinda Mule. Mavoko Patrick Kingola. Mbere North Ruku Geoffrey Kariuki.
Where?
Mbere North Ruku Geoffrey Kariuki.
Yes.
Mbere South Bernard Muriuki. Mboni Nzioka Kivasu Erastus. Mboni Nzioka Kivasu Erastus. Meru County Elizabeth Karambu Kailemia. Migori
Amesema yes. Amesema yes.
Migori County Zainabu Mohamed Fatuma.
Kwa niaba ya watu wa Migori, no. Kwa niaba ya
Mogotio.
Wakenya, no.
Kiborek Ruben Mogotio Kiborek Ruben. Moiben Barto Phyllis.
Yes.
Molo Kimani Kuria. Mombasa County Zamzam Mohamed. Mombasa County Zamzam Mohamed.
Kwa niaba ya watu wa Mombasa napiga no.
Mosop Kirwa Kipsang Abraham. Mosop Abraham Kirwa Kipsang.
On behalf of people of Mosop, I vote yes.
Moyale Guyo Wako Jaldesa. Moyale Guyo Wako Jaldesa. Msambweni Salim Faisal Bader. Msambweni Salim Faisal Bader. Mount Elgon Kapondi Frederick. Mount Elgon Kapondi Frederick. Moroni James Koyo Onyango. Mukurweini Kagushia John Gichohi. Kagushia John Gichohi. Mumias East Peter Salasia. Mwatate Peter Shake Mboko. Mwea Mary Maingi.
Yes.
Mwingi Central Muliungi Gideon. Mwingi Central Muliungi Gideon. Mwingi North Paul Musimi Nzengu. Paul Musimi Nzengu. Mwingi West, Charles Nguna. Charles Nguna. Nairobi County, Pasaris Esther Mudhoni. Nairobi County, Pasaris Esther Mudhoni. Naivasha, Jane Kihara. Jane Kihara. Nakuru County, Lisa Chelule.
Lisa Chelule is there. Yes.
Nakuru Town East, Gekaria David.
For jobs to our youth, I vote yes.
Nakuru Town West, Arama Samuel. Arama Samuel. Nambale, Mulanya Joyfrey. Mulanya Joyfrey. Nandi County, Cynthia Muge. Nandi County, Cynthia Muge. Nandi Hills, Bernard Kitur. Nandi Hills, Bernard Kitur. Narok County, Rebecca Tonkei. Narok County, Rebecca Tonkei.
I vote yes.
Narok East, Aramat Lemanken. Aramat Lemanken. Narok North, Pareyo Agnes.
Yes.
Pareyo Agnes. Narok South, Olentutu Kitilai. Narok West, Tongoyo Gabriel. Navajolo, Wangwe Emmanuel. Navajolo, Wangwe Emmanuel.
Yes. Yes.
Navajolo, Wangwe Emmanuel.
Give me the mic.
Yes.
Daragwa, George Gachagua. George Gachagua.
Yes.
Ndiwa, Owino Martin Peters. Ndia, GK Macharia, George.
GK is there. Yes.
Njoro, Charity Kadambi.
Yes. She's there.
Charity Kadambi. Northhor, Guyo Wario. Northhor, Guyo Wario.
Absent.
North Imenti, Rahim Dawood. North Imenti, Rahim Dawood. North Mugirango, Joash Nyamoko.
Yes.
Joash Nyamoko. Nyakach, Joshua Aduma. Nyakach, Joshua Aduma.
Absent.
Nyali, Mohammed Ali.
Yes.
Nyamira County, Jerusha Momanyi.
Yes.
Nyandarua County, Faith Gitau.
Yes.
Nyando, Jared Okelo.
Nyandu votes no.
Nyaribari Chache, Zahir Jada. Zahir Jada. Nyaribari Masaba, Manduku Daniel. Manduku Daniel. Nyatike, Tom Ondege.
Absent.
Tom Ondege. Nyeri County, Rahab Mukami Wachira. Nyeri County, Rahab Mukami Wachira. Nyeri Town, Duncan Madenge. Oljororok, Muchira Michael. Olkarau, Kiaraho David. Olkarau, Kiaraho David. Odaya, Wainaina Michael. Pokot South, Kosing David. Pokot South, Kosing David. Rabbi Anthony Kenga. Rabbi Anthony Kenga. Rangwe Lilian Gogo. Lilian Gogo. Rarieda Paul Otiende Amolo.
I vote no.
Rongai, Paul Kibet. Rongai, Paul Kibet. Rongo, Paul Abur. Paul Abur. Roysambu, Mwafrika Kamande. Ruaraka, Tom Joseph Kajwang. Ruiru, Kingara Simon. Runyenjes, Eric Muchangi. Sabatia, Sloya Clement Logova. Saboti, Caleb Amisi. Saku, Dido Raso. Samburu County, Pauline Lenguris. Samburu East, Lekumontare Lentoijoni Jackson. Samburu North, Letipila Dominic. Letipila Dominic. Samburu West, Lesuda Naisula. Lesuda Naisula. Seme, James Nikao.
Vote no.
Shinyalu, Ikana Frederick. Siaya County, Christine Ombaka Odor. Sigor, Peter Lochakapong. Peter Lochakapong. Sigowet Soin, Justice Kemei. Sirisia, John Waluke.
I vote yes.
Sotik, Francis Sigei. South Imenti, Shadrach Mwiti. South Mugirango, Silvana Sosoro. Soy, David Kiplangat. Starehe, Mwago Maina Amos. Starehe, Mwago Maina Amos. Suba North, Millie Grace Odhiambo. Suba North, Millie Grace Odhiambo. Suba South, Kalori Omondi. Suba South, Karoli Omondi.
Phase 1 of the affordable housing having been completed in Homa Bay, I vote yes.
Subukia, Subukia, Gachobe Kinuthia. Gachobe Kinuthia. Suna East, Junet Sheikh Mohammed. Suna East, Junet Sheikh Mohammed.
I vote no.
Suna West, Peter Francis Masara. Peter Francis Masara.
I vote no.
Taita Taveta County. Taita Taveta County, Lydia Haika Mizigi. Tana River County, Amina Dika. Tarbaj, Hussein Abdi Bare. Tarbaj, Hussein Abdi Bare. Taveta, John Buire Okano. John Buire Okano. Teso North, Kaunya Oku Edward. Kaunya Oku Edward. Teso South, Mary Amase. Teso South, Mary Amase.
I vote yes. I vote for jobs for my constituents.
Tetu, Mwangi Wandeto. Tetu, Mwangi Wandeto. Daraka, George Murugara. George Murugara. Tharaka Nithi County, Susan Ngugi.
Yes.
Susan Ngugi.
She's there.
He's an agent. Why is he voting? Chairman, why are you voting?
Thika Town, Alice Nganga. Alice Nganga.
Alice Nganga is there. And she's voted.
Tiati Kasait Kamket William. Kasait Kamket William. Tigania East, Mpuru Aburi. Tigania East, Mpuru Aburi. Tigania West, John Mutunga. Tindaret, Julius Meli. Tongaren, Chikati John. Trans Nzoia County, Sioi Lillian. Tarbo, CTNA Janet. Tarbo, CTNA Janet. Turkana County, Ngitit Cecilia. Cecilia Ngitit. Turkana Central, Namor Joseph Emade. Turkana Central, Namor Joseph Emade. Turkana East, Gikolok Nicholas Nixon. Turkana North, Paul Ekom Naibun. Turkana North, Paul Ekom Naibun. Turkana South, John Ariko.
The people of Turkana South have said no to condominiums.
Turkana West, Nanok Epuyo. Uasin Gishu County, Gladys Boss. Gladys Boss. Ugenya, David Ochieng. Ugunja, Wandai Opio.
No.
Uriri, Mark Nyamita. Uriri, Mark Nyamita. Vihiga, Kagesi Kivai Ernest. Vihiga County, Adagala Beatrice. Voi, Chome Abdi. Chome Abdi.
I vote no.
Wajir County, Fatuma Jeho. Wajir County, Fatuma Jeho. Wajir East, Mohammed Aden Daudi. Wajir North, Ibrahim Sane. Wajir North, Ibrahim Sane. Wajir South, Ado Mohammed Aden. Ado Mohammed Aden.
I vote no.
Wajir West, Yusuf Farah. Wajir West, Yusuf Farah Mohammed. Webuye East, Ferdinand Wanyonyi. Sorry, Wabuye East, Wanyonyi Martin Pepela. Wabuye East, Wanyonyi Martin Pepela. Webuye West, Daniel Wanyama. Webuye West, Daniel Wanyama. West Mugirango, Stephen Mogaka. Stephen Mogaka. West Pokot County, Rael Kasiwai. Rael Kasiwai, Chepkemoi. Westlands, Tim Wanyonyi. Westlands, Tim Wanyonyi. Wundanyi, Danson Mwashako.
I vote no.
Yata, Robert Basil Ngui. Robert Basil Ngoe.
I vote no.
Ali Abdisalat Khalif. Ali Abdisalat Khalif. Sabina Chege. Joseph Denar Hamisi. Joseph Denar Hamisi. Harun Sulekha Hulbai. Harun Sulekha Hulbai. Dorothy Mudhoni Ikiara. Joseph Wainaina. Jackson Kosgei Kipkemoy. Jackson Kosgei Kipkemoy.
I vote yes.
Irene Mayaka. Irene Mayaka. Umulkhel Harun Mohammed. Umulkhel Harun Mohammed. Teresia Wanjiru Mwangi. Teresia Wanjiru Mwangi. John Bandi.
You should add chairman. I vote no.
Talib Abubakar Ahmed. Talib Abubakar Ahmed.
I vote yes.
The tallying of the numbers of both the majority and the minority in regards to the Affordable Housing Bill 2023, that the Speaker put a question for members to vote for the bill at the second stage. So upon passing of that bill, for it to proceed to the third stage, that is the committee stage, we saw members of parliament raising to say each side has the numbers, and that occasioned the calling of each member for them to take a vote, and that tallying is currently on. On the side of the majority wing, the tellers are the member for Mbeere North, Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, and the member for Endebess, Honorable Robert Pukose. The minority wing is being represented by Honorable Jackson Mwamboka, the member for Bumula, as well as Anthony Kibagendi. So as we await for that tallying to be completed, allow me to take you through some of the highlights the members raised during the debate allocated time. We've had members of the minority wing calling for more time for more amendments to be included by the Committee on Matters Finance, chaired by the member for Molo Town. Honorable Francis Kuria Kimani, that a plea by Honorable Member for Arieda, Otiende Amolo, as well as the Honorable Member for Ruaraka, Honorable Kajwang, were not permitted by the Speaker. The debate on this particular bill, the Affordable Housing Bill, has been completed. And during this afternoon session, we also heard from the leader of the majority party, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, urging members of parliament to vote for the bill. And in his argument is that the Affordable Housing Bill 2023 is majorly about creating employment for the youth in the country. And so we expect upon the conclusion of that tallying, the Speaker will then be giving the outcome of the tallying in regards to how members of the National Assembly voted on the Affordable Housing Bill 2023 for it to proceed to the committee stage, which is slated for tomorrow morning. This particular bill also pertains matters to do with counties, and the moment the National Assembly has dispensed with this particular bill, it will be proceeding to the Senate for consideration by senators. It is a bill that has elicited mixed reactions from members, with legislators calling for further amendments. According to the committee chair, Akure Kimani, there are a number of amendments before the committee, and those particular amendments are set to be considered tomorrow during the National Assembly sitting, slated for tomorrow morning, 9:30. Usually at the second stage, members of parliament, of the bicameral parliament, whether the bill is at the Senate or at the National Assembly, at the second reading, popularly known as the second stage, we have members ventilating on the bill, either in support or objecting to the proposals in the bill. And that is why we have various amendments to the Affordable Housing Bill 2023, where a section of members want various amendments to be included in the bill. Among the amendments is that the 10% deposit requirement for you to own a house be scrapped. And according to the chair of the Finance Committee, during the public hearing, the committee gathered that some members of the public may not be in a position to pay the 10% deposit. and that is one of the consideration when this bill enters the committee stage. Another recommendation or amendment is that the affordable housing for members of the public to be allowed to either rent or buy the house altogether. So we'll be awaiting to see how that will be panning in regards to this bill. This is a bill before the National Assembly, and it was introduced by the majority side. This is a bill seeking to have unemployed Kenyans get jobs. Currently, there is a retreat by the members of the executive, and we've had the president urging members of parliament to pass this particular bill to enable the ruling coalition fulfill its mandate. The Affordable Housing Bill 2023 is currently at the second stage. Usually, a bill will go through the 3 stages. The first stage, popularly known as the first reading, the bill is introduced or read for the first time before the House. And at the second stage, what we witnessed on Thursday last week, and a few minutes before 4 p.m. today, is that members were concluding on the allocated time. Usually, the allocated time for debate is usually 3 hours. That has been concluded, and the vote that was being taken is to permit the bill to go to the third stage, where it will be before the committee of the whole House, where various amendments in regards to the proposals in the Affordable Housing Bill will be considered. There has been various issues raised before the committee dealing with this aspect of the affordable housing. And when members of the public appeared before the committee, raised the aspect of the high cost of living, calling upon the committee to consider probably reducing the amount required for one to own the house. A few minutes to come, say a minute or two, we'll be expecting the clerks led by the clerk of the National Assembly, to complete that particular tally. And at any given moment that particular tally is complete, the results will be handed over to the Speaker to read the tally outcome. And one of the most notable recommendations is the removal of section 31, subsection 2A, which mandated a 10% deposit for eligibility for the affordable housing units. In the event that is accommodated, this change is expected to lower the entry barrier for the prospective homeowners. That way, a majority of Kenyans are in a position to own a house. The clerk is already before the speaker, ready to present the tally. Allow me to hand you over so we can hear from the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Wetangula, on how members voted in regards to that tally that was occasioned by a division from the House.
Are on their feet. Take your seats. DK, take your seat. The tellers may move forward and announce the results to the Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, sir, in the second reading of the Affordable Housing Bill 2023, the voting, manual for ayes 141, nays 58.
Order, honorable members. Kibagandi, take your seat. Order, honorable members. I now wish to announce the results of the voting to the House. Order. In a division on second reading of the Affordable Housing Bill 2023, the results are as follows. The ayes, 141. The noes, 58. Total vote, 199. Abstentions, nil. So the ayes have it. Clerk, can you read?
A bill.
Order, Wanjala. Order, before you read that. Order, before we conclude this, I want first to thank all members for your decorum. Apart from the errand member for Budalangi, the rest of the members observed absolute decorum. And Honorable Wanjala, you are supposed to be an elder to your colleagues here. So you can't sit there and be shouting at the top of your voice, contrary to Standing Order 76. So next time, be an example to your younger colleagues. It pays to do that. Order. Clerk, can you? You can't ask for a point of order, Honorable Undo. You know the rules. You are second termer. We are still in division. We haven't finished. Order. Go ahead, Clerk.
A bill for an act of parliament to give effect to Article 43(1)(b) of the Constitution to provide a framework for access to affordable housing and for connected purposes.
You may now open the bar. On the division, the voting is over. Yes. Okay.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. And I want to also join you in thanking members for having conducted
Honorable
themselves.
members, we are going to the NADCO report for those who are leaving. Yes, go on, Wandai.
Okay. Honorable Speaker, I wish to join you in commending the House for having undertaken a very, very seamless voting exercise on this bill. But as I do so, Honorable Speaker, I take note of the fact that the third reading stage of this bill has been lined up for tomorrow, Wednesday, 2:30 p.m.
Tomorrow afternoon, yes.
Yes. Honorable Speaker, I want to plead with you that, bearing in mind the enormous number of possible amendments that are coming from members on this very, very contested bill. I want to plead with you that you consider giving us a little bit more time in terms of arranging the order paper so that members can get opportunity to hand in their proposed amendments, and also where there are similar or related amendments, we can undertake the process of winnowing under the meaning of winnowing in the standing orders. Honorable Speaker, the feeling of most members here is that the timing of 2:30 p.m. tomorrow is too soon for those processes to be undertaken and be completed. I know for sure, Honorable Speaker, that I sit in the House Business Committee, but I want to plead with you that we try to rearrange this, since even on Thursday, we are still going to have a sitting that could actually be used to process the third reading stage of this very, very contentious and controversial bill. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Ichungwa? Order, honorable members, the House is still in session. Order. Order, honorable members. Sabina Chega and your team, take your seats or go to wherever you're going.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I've listened to the Leader of Minority, and I'm glad he asserts that he's a member of the House Business Committee, and I can also confirm he was in the House Business Committee this morning, rather this lunch hour, and these are some of the issues that would have transacted in the House Business Committee, and he did not raise it, since the order paper was already published. Even by the time we were in House Business, there was an indication of the business that is lined up for debate tomorrow, right from the morning sitting to the afternoon sitting. And having listened to the issues, Honorable Speaker, it's also true that this debate began last week, and I'm also aware that quite a number of members have been in discussions with the chair of the committee proposing various amendments. And members, I know there are also quite a number of members who have already filed their amendments, proposed amendments. And therefore, since it's now 5 p.m., Honorable Speaker, and we have up to tomorrow, and occasionally, Honorable Speaker, the Speaker has allowed members to even file amendments on the floor, and they are considered in the afternoon for anybody who may want to file even over lunch hour. And the clerk's office can also publish a supplementary order paper. Honorable Speaker, I would prevail on you that we transact business as approved by the House Business Committee, since the Leader of Minority was within his right to propose that particular change within the House Business before approval of the business of the week by the House Business Committee. Otherwise, we will now be on the verge of retransacting the business that was before the House Business Committee in plenary, which will not set a very good precedent. I would rather, Honorable Speaker, that we give members up to tomorrow 1 p.m. to file their amendments, those that may want to file amendments, especially any member who was not there on Thursday and who was not here today and may want to file an amendment. But I am certain, having checked with the clerk's office, there are already members who have filed amendments. And once the order paper is published, should there be amendments that anybody wants to file, we can give them up to 1 p.m. tomorrow, and we publish a supplementary order paper with your approval, Honorable Speaker. Otherwise, I would strongly oppose delaying of this business, Honorable Speaker, beyond the time that was agreed on in the House Business Committee.
As Honorable Andai and your majority colleague, you both sit in the House Business Committee. You know what we passed. However, in accordance with our standing orders, I'll direct that any member who has any amendments to file, your deadline is noon tomorrow. Once you have filed in all the amendments, then the clerk will be directed to prepare a supplementary order paper to accommodate every file amendment. If the weight of the amendments are such that you need a winnowing process, I will have a consultation with both of you to see what we need to do. Otherwise, the matter will remain on the order paper for committee of the whole tomorrow afternoon. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, report of the National Dialogue Committee.
Honorable members, order number 9, the report will be debated in accordance with the motions we passed on the management of our time. It is allocated 2.5 hours. The majority and minority leaders have 10 minutes each. Each other member speaking has 5 minutes. Depending on the nature of interest and depending on how repetitious you would be in your contributions, the House Business Committee agreed that we may reduce the time to 3 minutes per member. But as it is, you passed a motion, that a motion of this nature, 2.5 hours, 10 minutes for majority, 10 minutes for minority, 5 minutes for each contributor. So, Majority Leader, you are called upon to move the motion. I see names already on the screen. If they are not for this motion, wipe them out and log in afresh so that we give everybody a fair chance to contribute. Majority Leader.
Majority Leader. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the adoption of the National Dialogue Committee's report, or what was christened NADCO. And this report, Honorable Speaker, came, Honorable Speaker, sorry, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the National Dialogue Committee, which was laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 7th December 2023. Honorable Speaker, I was saying this report culminated from a long process that began with the bipartisan talks that were co-chaired by the Honorable Murugara and the Honorable Otiende Omolo. Let me take this opportunity to thank those two members and the members of the bipartisan team that formed the basis of our talks, Honorable Speaker, because we benefited immensely from the work that the two gentlemen had begun through the bipartisan talks. Honorable Speaker, allow me to also take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, my co-chair, and the leader of the delegation from the Azimio side, and ably assisted by the leader of minority, and also thank the other members of the committee, including my deputy, the Honorable Cecily Mbarire, the governor for Embu County, the Honorable Aaron Cheruyot, Honorable Hassan Omar, the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, Honorable Amina Mnyazi, and of course I've mentioned the leader of my minority, the Honorable Pio Wandai. Honorable Speaker, this report, or rather the NADCO committee, considered all the 5 issues that we had agreed. And you remember, Honorable Speaker, many of us had other issues besides the 5 issues, and we framed our issues around 5 thematic areas: on electoral justice and related matters, outstanding constitutional matters, fidelity to political parties and coalitions, and the law on multi-party democracy, entrenching of funds into the Constitution, and issues. And I don't to dwell into all the recommendations that came out of the report. Members, you remember, is a very bulky report that also factored in memoranda and submissions from many Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, we were able to listen to very many Kenyans who submitted memoranda to us, from about 258 written memoranda that were sent to the committee. 60 stakeholders appeared before the committee, and we listened to over 704 persons. And that tells you, Honorable Speaker, that this report factored in views from very many Kenyans from across the country. Honorable Speaker, we also have a retinue of proposals on legislative instruments or statutory instruments that emanated from this report. And Honorable Speaker, we have a total of 9 legislative instruments or legislatives that we shall be submitting to Parliament for publication upon the adoption of this report. And key among these legislative proposals, Honorable Speaker, touch on IEBC, on electoral justice and electoral reforms, Honorable Speaker. And there are quite a number of legislative proposals, beginning with the reconstitution of the IEBC panel. We have proposed amendments to the IEBC Act of 2011 to provide that the selection panel, Honorable Speaker, will be reconstituted. And Honorable Speaker, you remember the courts only a few weeks ago, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, in trying to cure the lacuna that exists in law, because you know the panel as it is today, Honorable Speaker, has no timelines, and they could take forever, Honorable Speaker. But with the amendment, besides reconstituting the IBC panel and growing the membership from 7 to 9 members to ensure that we have a cross-section of views and interest groups accommodated within the selection panel, we are also creating a timeline, and the panel will now be required to finalize the exercise within 90 days. From the day that the panel is appointed, they must complete the work and submit the nominees to the President, and they shall stand dissolved thereafter. Honorable Speaker, we have also allowed the Parliament, both houses, using a simple majority, the latitude to extend time for this panel should they need more time than the 90 days that will be provided for under the new act, should we adopt or rather enact the legislative proposal that amends the IBC Act of 2011. Honorable Speaker, it is also noteworthy that the committee has recommended a transitional clause to provide that the selection panel existing immediately at the commencement date of the act will cease to exist, but any person who is working in that panel is eligible to be renominated by any of the nominating bodies, Honorable Speaker. So therefore, for instance, the political parties liaison committee that had 2 nominees, they will now have 3 nominees under the new panel, and any of the nominees that were under that selection panel could be renominated by the political parties liaison committee, or in that case, even those under the Parliamentary Service Commission, they can renominate the same people. Those under LSK can, if the selection bodies desire, they can renominate the same people. Honorable Speaker, critical among the other changes, Honorable Speaker, is a recommendation by the committee to Article 89 of the Constitution on delimitation of boundaries. Honorable Speaker, again, you know the courts have also pronounced themselves on the question of delimitation of boundaries, and we had a statutory deadline that lapses at the end of March, which is only next month, Honorable Speaker. And it is therefore not practical under the circumstances to be able to delimit boundaries within a period of a few weeks after the adoption of this report. And therefore, we are proposing that Article 89 of the Constitution is amended to provide for extension of the period for conduct of the review of the constituency's boundaries by IBC, where for any reason, like the case is this time, the review of the names and boundaries of constituents is not completed within the time stipulated under Article 89(2) of the Constitution. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, we shall also be bringing those amendments. Honorable Speaker, on audit of the 2022 presidential elections, we did engage in this matter, and we agreed that in line with the constitutional provisions, Honorable Speaker, that we evaluate all our presidential and election processes. We agreed that we shall not be reviewing since the presidential election was settled, and that is a matter now beyond us, Honorable Speaker, and settled by the Supreme Court. But we shall, in line with our constitutional provisions, be evaluating or rather have a process of an evaluation of the 2022 electoral process, so that, Honorable Speaker, we ensure that future elections, beginning with the 2027 elections, Kenyans are certain that the election results are credible and the entire electoral process, right from registration of voters, Honorable Speaker, up to the time votes are tallied and winners announced, be it for MCA all the way to governor and presidential elections, that Kenyans can be certain that those elections have followed a process that ensures the entire process is credible, Honorable Speaker. And that, Honorable Speaker, we have created in the report a mechanism where we shall, within 21 days after adoption of this report, have a system where we have a panel that will identify either one firm or two firms to conduct an evaluation process of the last elections, Honorable Speaker, with a view to improving on the systems, because this is what our Constitution provides for, that after every election we shall, IEBC actually is mandated under our Constitution to ensure that they have a system that evaluates that electoral process with a view to enhancing, or rather to making the electoral processes more efficient and more credible election after election. Honorable Speaker, on outstanding constitutional matters, there are issues that touch on 2/3 gender rule, and I know many of our lady members of parliament have been very keen on this issue. I do know, Honorable Speaker, that there was a ministerial working team on this aspect, and indeed, we did recommend that on the 2/3 gender rule, the committee recommended that the multi-sectoral working group on the realization of the 2/3 gender rule under the Ministry of Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action finalizes its work and recommend a framework of implementation of the 2/3 gender principle and submit its report to Parliament for consideration. And Honorable Speaker, I had an engagement this afternoon with Honorable Sabina Chege, the party leader of Jubilee, who has been very keen in pursuing this matter. And she has indicated to me that following the meeting we had yesterday between our parliamentary group and the cabinet yesterday in Naivasha, indeed the Ministry of Gender, Ministry of Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action has indicated to our lady members of parliament that they have indeed concluded this and they have a report ready, and we shall be engaging with the cabinet secretary to be able to relay that report, so that as we adopt this report, Honorable Speaker, we can have that report from the multi-sectoral team form part of the legislative proposals that will come as a consequence of this NADCO report. And we shall be engaging with the Minister, Honorable Aisha, to have that ready. Honorable Speaker, on the cost of living, Honorable Speaker, because this is, again, maybe before I get to the cost of living, Honorable Speaker, on entrenching of funds into the Constitution, we did recommend that NGCDF, because of the critical role it plays together with NGAF and the Senate Oversight Fund, that they be entrenched into our Constitution, Honorable Speaker, and more importantly, on the Ward Development Fund, to ensure that all our MCAs in our constituencies and in our wards have access to a Ward Development Fund, Honorable Speaker, and every ward, no MCA, will have to kneel before a governor to be able to access development funds to their wards. We also recommended that the Ward Development Fund be established by statute in accordance with Article 207, Sub-Article 4B of the Constitution, to ensure that our wards and our ward representatives are also able to carry out their work of oversight over their governors without anybody cajoling them or intimidating them that they will miss out on development funds for their wards. And, Honorable Speaker, MCAs will now be able, upon adoption of this report and upon enactment of the requisite legislative proposals, to be able to have development funds allocated to their respective wards. Honorable Speaker, on the establishment of entrenchment of state offices, we also did agree on the establishment of the office of the leader of the official opposition and that of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I know those within the Azimio coalition, since they are now the official opposition, they will agree on who will take over that position, Honorable Speaker. And I wish them all the best as in that endeavor. Honorable Speaker, on the cost of living, because, Honorable Speaker, the question of the cost of living is one of the matters that we dealt with at length, and there are many proposals that were submitted to us by many stakeholders, including, Honorable Speaker, as I said when I moved the affordable housing bill, on the question of whether to be able to help our economy to recover. We have an opportunity to have an aggressive investment in huge infrastructure projects, Honorable Speaker, and we are able to engage with economists of repute, including those from the SID, who submitted to the committee, Honorable Speaker, that even developed countries like the Republic of Germany, after the Second World War, they had an aggressive investment of huge infrastructural investments, Honorable Speaker, to help the economy to recover. And we did, for those of us who subscribe to the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, submit before NADCO that part of that endeavor is this housing agenda. And I am glad that even those of our colleagues in the Azimio coalition do agree with us, including the former Prime Minister, that housing as an agenda is critical at this particular time in our republic, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, too, on the question of the cost of living, Honorable Speaker, there are many proposals, many good proposals that came from the Azimio coalition, and some, in fact, 90% of what was submitted by the Azimio coalition before NADCO on the cost of living, we are able to adopt those proposals, touching on some of the levies that touch on the cost of fuel in this country. Honorable Speaker, we had also points of divergence on principle, Honorable Speaker, and we respectfully agreed that because some of the proposals they had are proposals that touch on their manifesto in Azimio, especially on the question of subsidies and consumption subsidies. And we were able to push our case, and we were able to agree with our colleagues in the Azimio coalition that on the question of consumer subsidies, they allow the government of the day to implement the manifesto that they sold to the people of Kenya that had nothing to do with consumer subsidies, but had everything to do with production subsidies, Honorable Speaker. And I am glad, Honorable Speaker, today, as we speak, months after the very heated engagements that we had in NADCO, including some like the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, pretending to have walked away on the last minute, Honorable Speaker. And I say pretending because Honorable Eugene Wamalwa was part of the engagements in NADCO up to and including the very last meeting on the Friday before the actual signing. And when he excused himself to travel to Kinshasa, he had indicated he'd come back to sign that report the day after. And let me thank all the members of the NADCO committee because they all signed, except the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa. And on the question of the prices of unga, which I know is what was being sold then, I am saying I am glad that today, Honorable Speaker, as we engage in the debate on this report, Honorable Speaker, nobody in this country today, including my colleagues in Azimio, none of them today speaks about the cost of unga when they talk about the cost of living today, Honorable Speaker. I am glad that what we told them in NADCO and what we have told them before, that production subsidies do work. And it is a proven theory in economics that production subsidies give you better results and more lasting results than consumption subsidies. Today, Honorable Speaker, the price of unga that was at 260. I saw yesterday somebody posted one of the groups, one of the brands, today retailing at 114 shillings without consumption subsidies, Honorable Speaker. Farmers, patriotic farmers in this country, Honorable Speaker, courtesy of the subsidized fertilizer, have produced millions of bags that they would never have produced, Honorable Speaker, had they not accessed the subsidized fertilizer that was going for 7,000 shillings only a year ago, but today, a year and a half ago, Honorable Speaker, but today they're able to access fertilizer at a price of 2,500 shillings. And that is what has brought down the cost of living, Honorable Speaker, in the terms of the price of unga. And I'm glad those of our friends who donned sufurias on their heads, today their sufurias are very busy in their kitchens with unga at 114 shillings, Honorable Speaker. And some of the most expensive brands retailing at 140 shillings, brands that were going at a price of 278 when we were being pushed to go for fertilizer subsidies, for consumption subsidies, Honorable Speaker. Let me, Honorable Speaker, without belaboring a lot of these things much, because the report has been debated even in the public fora, plead with all of us to adopt this report. Is a product of a very fruitful bipartisan engagement, Honorable Speaker. The spirit of NADCO was to ensure that never again, Honorable Speaker, in this country shall we ever have to fight.
Mr. Speaker, the majority leader is about to wind up, but did you hear him saying that the cost of unga has reduced? From which shop, may I ask, from which shops in Nairobi does the majority leader shop from, where the cost of unga is reduced to 140? May I ask, although perhaps I'm going to different shops.
First of all, this is not question time. Carry on. There, you are prosecuting your point of order wrongly. You're asking questions instead of asking whether he's in order to say what he's saying.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And you know, Honorable Speaker, I was careful because I'm not in the business of promoting brands. But I have just seen it was the Honorable Ruto who shared the photo of one of the brands retailing in a supermarket in Nairobi at 114 shillings. You could share that picture with Honorable TJ. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, I was saying this NADCO process, Honorable Speaker, was informed by the desire by all Kenyans to engage in our politics in a way that is devoid of violence, Honorable Speaker. And I am glad that we were able to transact business in NADCO in a very civil manner, in a spirit of give and take, and the Honorable Opio will bear me witness that even the most difficult questions within NADCO, we are able to deal with them in a very good way, in a very civil way, without anybody throwing words at each other and being able to engage. And the whole spirit, Honorable Speaker, of the National Dialogue Committee was that spirit of dialogue. And we did indicate, Honorable Speaker, even as we engaged, that that is a desire of every Kenyan, that whether it is problems that emanate from our electoral processes, whether it is problems that come from the cost of living, never again shall Kenyans have to engage in violence, but we shall be able to dialogue with each other, talk to each other, Honorable Speaker, and be able to resolve all issues that are of concern to us as Kenyans in an amicable manner through dialogue. Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, see my time is over. I beg to move and plead with all of us to support this report, adopt it, so that we allow the House to be able to be seized of the legislative proposals that have far-reaching effects, especially those that touch on our electoral processes and the challenges that bedevil our IEBC and delimitation of boundaries. With those many remarks, I beg to move and request the Honorable Leader of Minority, the Honorable Pio Wandai, the NADCO Deputy Delegation Leader of the Azimio Coalition, to second.
Yes, Honorable Ruku, what is...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is good to inform Honorable Kajwang.
Order. You're out of order. He's not on the floor. Order. Cross off and go and quietly tell him.
The Honorable Speaker, how I wish our colleague members would learn the rules of this House and avoid taking us in circles or treating us to unnecessary shenanigans. Honorable Speaker, let me start as I second the motion for the adoption of the National Dialogue Committee report by saying that the establishment of the NADCO was as a result of very, very painful experiences that the country was going through following the elections of August 2022 and following the immense suffering that Kenyans were going through as a result of the skyrocketing cost of living. Those twin issues took hundreds, if not thousands, of Kenyans to the streets across the country. And the country was teetering on the brink of total collapse of governance and indeed lawlessness. And therefore, we must thank the initiators of this NADCO process, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga and the Honorable William Ruto. We can also not forget to thank immensely President Olusegun Obasanjo for having made efforts to ensure that both parties saw the sense to come to the table. Honorable Speaker, the spirit that guided the NADCO process was that of give and take. Just like in any negotiation process, it was a question of giving and taking. We had a raft of issues as the Azimio coalition that we had placed on the table. Similarly, the Kenya Kwanza side had their issues. At the end of the day, we were able to harmonize these issues and develop a framework of engagement, which guided our negotiations up to the end. I'm happy that in the face of enormous challenges, in the face of serious differences in opinion, we were able to arrive at specific recommendations touching on specific areas or thematic areas, and to condense this in a report, which is the subject of this motion that is before us today. The Honorable Speaker, I want to summarize really, because 10 minutes is too short. Some of the takeaways in the report, without necessarily repeating, are one, the roadmap towards reconstitution of the IEBC. The second one is the governance structure, the governance around political parties and their management. There is the issue of the audit of the elections. We have agreed on this matter to establish within 21 days upon the adoption of this report a panel consisting of 3 persons from each side to develop the terms of reference that will guide this audit process. I want to leave it to that panel to be able to establish these TORs. We must also, of course, talk about the World Development Fund, but more importantly, the matter of the increase of the allocation of the national revenues to the counties from the current minimum 15% to 20%. Those are some of the takeaways. But coming back to the question of the IBC, I keep on saying, time and again, that in this part of the world, the matter of elections is life and death. Believe you me or not. Elections in this country, just like it is in this part of the world, is a matter of life and death. And therefore the body that is to be charged with the responsibility of managing elections must be like Caesar's wife, beyond reproach, and must enjoy the confidence of the wider majority of the populace, and indeed must enjoy the confidence of the key players in the electoral process. That is what informed NADCO's recommendation to restructure the IEBC, to restart the process of appointing the IEBC commissioners, and to recommend specific amendments to the Elections Act, to the IEBC Act, and indeed to the Constitution. We in NADCO resolved that never again should the country go back to where it was just few weeks or so before the establishment of the NADCO. That never again should we have a situation where an IEBC would be split down the middle at the critical moment of announcing the results of presidential elections. That it was never the intention of the framers of our Constitution, and indeed Kenyans, when they adopted this Constitution in 2010, that a body charged with the onerous responsibility of managing elections would be split in the middle at the critical stage of announcing presidential election results. The raft of recommendations in this report are, among other things, aimed at curing that very, very serious problem that can only be, that has come to be associated with only Kenya. Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Speaker, the issue of the two-third gender principle, the not more than two-third gender principle, has been adequately captured in the report. It was our view in NADCO that since the time was not adequate, and since there was a working group, a multi-sectoral working group, dealing with that question, that we give it time to complete its work and compile a report, which report would be treated as part of the NADCO. The report that would come from the multi-sectoral group, working group, dealing with the question of the not more than two-third gender principle, within the letter and spirit of the NADCO report, would be part of the NADCO report. And I want to join Honorable Chungwa in urging that group. I had a chance to meet them yesterday, Honorable Speaker. They came calling to my office, and I had very, very fruitful engagement with them. And I urged them yesterday to fast-track the process and submit their report with the proposed instruments to this House, even as we proceed with this process of implementing the NADCO recommendations. Honorable Speaker, there are some issues that the committee, in its wisdom, recommended that they be referred to the principals, the two principals, Honorables William Ruto and Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Honorable Speaker, one of the issues that we agreed should be referred to the two principals is the matter of the Cherera 4. The 4 IEBC commissioners that, in opinion, with the other three, it was in the wisdom of the committee that that matter be referred to the two principals to perhaps pursue a settlement outside the court process. We also agreed that on the matter of violence, including violence against the public by the police and police killings, be referred to the principals with a view to forming a system, to establishing a system of undertaking thorough investigations and holding whoever is responsible.
1 minute.
So, Honorable Speaker, in a nutshell, as I conclude, given that the document we are discussing today, the NADCO report, is a negotiated document, is a consensus document, our understanding and our position is that such a document is not open to any form of amendment. And that principle also applies equally to the attendant instruments, that is the proposed legislative amendments to statutes and the Constitution. So with those very many remarks, I second and I urge my colleagues to adopt this report in totality and to allow the country to move forward in one accord. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Minority Leader. I now propose the question, which is that this House adopts the report of the National Dialogue Committee laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 7th December 2023. Karoli Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I did have opportunity to make both a personal presentation to this committee as well as a group presentation by 27 other honorable members of parliament. I would like to talk about three things. I've gone through it, and I must thank the committee for at least recording and acknowledging our presentation as 27 members of parliament who called for the creation of 10 additional counties based on the original Kilifi draft and other instruments that preceded the enactment of the 2010 Constitution. However, I've noted that there are several glaring misrepresentations of what the position of the Constitution is in relation to the way new counties are established. You will agree, Honorable Speaker, that the IEBC has completely no role in the review and delimitation of county boundaries. This is preserved for this National Assembly under Article 188, where by a resolution we can establish a commission that will investigate the boundaries based on a criteria which is in the Constitution and establish new counties. I've realized when I've read the report where they're making a statement under paragraph 201, and I believe it is FGHI, that the establishment of new counties require a referendum because such an act would interfere with the territory of Kenya. Nothing would be further from the truth. I've looked at Articles 5 and 6 of the Constitution, which clearly define what the territory of Kenya is, and territory of a country is defined by reference to external boundaries in terms of the neighboring countries, never by what the boundaries are within the county, which is where the boundaries for counties are. I think it would be wrong to adopt the report without any amendment when such a glaring misrepresentation is in the report, which that is not what the law says. Yes, they are saying we also need a referendum, which is not the correct position. A referendum is clearly defined under Articles 255 and 256. And you only go to a referendum when you're dealing with counties if you want to change the objects, principles, and structure of devolved units. Creating new counties do not interfere with objects under Article 174, principles under 175, and the structure under 176. Structure is simply that a county government will have a county executive and a county assembly. There's no other structure. So it is wrong. I think we need to amend some of these resolutions here and then have accuracy in the report. So even though it is a product of negotiated settlement, we cannot allow it just to go with such misrepresentations. Secondly, I did make a presentation on party discipline as well as registration of new political parties. My presentation has not been covered here, and I would like it to go on record that, again, if you read the chapters on this report on party discipline, there is a lot of confusion. A system, a parliamentary system, and if we are a parliamentary system, which one are we? What is being presented here is a situation where elections are elections of political parties, not of individuals who are elected by individual mandate from the people. We should look at what happens in pure presidential systems, which is a system of governance that we have in this country, and adopt mechanisms that encourage party discipline within a presidential system. We cannot be importing parliamentary systems, practices and norms of parliamentary systems into a presidential system without understanding what they are. What I'm trying to say is, in a parliamentary system, if you are elected as an individual in that party, there are certain freedoms and independence that you enjoy. If the party is elected and the party nominates you on the basis like in South Africa, there are certain limitations that you have. In a presidential system, you have a direct mandate from the people. You have a voice to vote as you wish in this house, only taking account of the interests of your people. That is what happens in America. That is what happens in all other jurisdictions with the presidential system. And that is where we should go. Finally, I did propose, because of the bad manners of many people in the Republic of Kenya and the problems that we are having, that it is essential to institute what I call nationhood science, so as to promote the values and principles under Article 10. I've not seen it captured here. I want it to go in the record of this House that I feel very strongly that we need to introduce civic education, entrepreneurship, and other things that will inculcate the national values and principles under Article 10 of the Constitution in our young before they get spoiled, rotten, and mess up our country. With those remarks, I will be moving some amendments on the recommendations of the report. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next chance to the member for Marsabit, Honorable Wako.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to add my voice to this very important debate on NADCO report, as I also take this opportunity to congratulate the committee members who sacrificed a lot of their time and came up with this report that will guide our nation into a better nation. Honorable Speaker, the time they spent and the memorandums they have received from different Kenyans, and when the majority leader was moving, he said that 60 stakeholders appeared before the committee, which means that Kenyans took a lot of interest in this and they participated fully. Again, the majority leader told us that out of their report, 9 legislation proposals have been developed, which clearly shows us that they have given a lot of attention, and the legislative proposals will of course capture the needs of this country and will guide us, as I said, into a better nation. IBC, the issue of IBC seems to have been given a lot of attention, and reconstituting IBC, of course, is a major thing today. We are going to second year after elections, and we have a lot of gaps since we did our last elections. We need IBC members to come in and IBC Commission to start off their work so that we prepare ourselves, we take care of the past mess, and also make sure that we have filled the gaps. There are many MCS, many members of parliament who have gone to be with the Lord. And now, if we reconstitute, then we will get on to work. And I recommend that the earlier we do, the better for our nation. Again, Madam Speaker, one encouraging thing that the majority leader said is that this House, this August House, has the mandate to extend the time in case we need, because the panel is to complete their work within 90 days. But if that is not achievable, then we have the mandate to add more days so that they can conclude. But it is my prayer that we will conclude this matter as soon as possible so that Kenyans will have the services that they need. Madam Speaker, the issue of delimitation of the boundaries is of interest to many of us, and we know that that time is also coming to an end. it is my prayer that we will come up with some proposals that will help us, because many counties, many wards, many areas have been suffering because of this challenge that we've had. And the earlier we also embark on this so that we can mark the boundaries so that people can coexist and also know their areas, that will also help our nation. One important thing they have covered is the issue of Ward Development Fund, which is a big encouragement to all our MCS, because as they sit and wait, once we approve this, then the MCS will be able to do their work freely without any challenge, without, placing the governor or the county executive. They'll be able to be empowered, because as of now, many of them are not able to do what they want to do in their counties, because they do not have these funds. And what I want to say on this is, even for the MCS, when these funds will be released and will be established, and of course implementation takes place, they should be accountable and they should have enough public participation so that the counties, the wards can benefit, and the people who elected them can also feel the power. And with those few remarks, I support, and it is my prayer that we will all participate in this debate. Thank you.
Honorable John Mbadi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I support this report, I want to mention a few things. Number one is for there to be a discussion or dialogue of this nature. Certainly it had to be preceded by some kind of or form of crisis. We had a crisis, as has been ably talked about by our minority leader. But Madam Speaker, we need to ask ourselves this question. I've been around here from 15th of January 2008. I've actually been in this chamber for more than 16 years. And every time from that time of the 10th Parliament, when we had post-election violence, we keep on using the same words, same terminologies as both leaders today used. That never again will this country experience the kind of violence. I mean, this is becoming rhetoric, Madam Speaker, and I want to say that as a country we must ask ourselves fundamental questions. Why is it that after every election we always have a crisis in this country? That is the question that we need to address. But looking at this report, I'm afraid to say that we still fear. We still gloss over issues. We have not addressed the main issue, the biggest problem, the challenge that we are facing as a country. It is about the system of government. Madam Speaker, some people call it winner takes it all. Some other people call it the feeling and the sense of exclusivity and inclusivity. Why do some Kenyans feel belonging to this country more than others, especially when elections are conducted? We need to ask ourselves that question. And looking at this report, Madam Speaker, we are not solving this problem. If we have decided that this system of government, the presidential system, is not working for us, then why don't we go the full hog and go parliamentary system? Why are we again creating systems that are very difficult to understand? That you are creating an office of the opposition leader when you have a presidential system? How does it work? I mean, let us not pretend and cheat ourselves and lie to ourselves that we are solving this problem. We are not. And I am afraid to say that next time, again, after 5 years, we will be back to the same discussions. Madam Speaker, on the issue of electoral management and the team tasked with the responsibility to manage our election, Madam Speaker, the truth is that in this country, nobody is neutral. None of us. All of us vote, at least those who want to vote. Even those bishops, you give them a vote, they will vote for someone. So why do we pretend? And we know we are in a divided society. This country is almost split 50-50. For us to have confidence in the Electoral Commission, let us bite the bullet and say, those who are in the majority, bring this number of commissioners. Those who are in the minority, bring this number of commissioners to preside over election. And see where do we get the chairman. We can even appeal to our brothers. Let us not talk about sovereignty if we cannot manage it. Let us accept and even ask our partners, our friends across the continent, give us somebody. If Obasanjo can come all the way from Nigeria to come and mediate, we had Kofi Annan coming here to mediate. Why don't we just accept that because we can't trust any one of us to chair our commission and produce a good result, then let's go that route and have someone from out there to preside over election. Finally, Madam Speaker, if you allow me, on the issue of cost of living, my friend, those are opinions. Wait for your time. Who can help this member of parliament? Now, my last comment, Madam Speaker, if you allow me, is on the cost of living. Madam Speaker, let us not pretend and cheat ourselves that cost of living has gone down. It is only food-driven inflation which has gone down, and that is because we have had good rains. Madam Speaker, it has nothing to do with inputs. If rains fail in this country even for one season, we will go back to where we were. All the time when we had good rains in this country, Madam Speaker, we have had good harvest, and the cost of food generally go down. Honorable Baya has no point. There's no point of order. Madam Speaker.
You know,
I want to speak on
Honorable
that.
I know there is
take
no
your
point
seat.
of
Take your seat. Honorable Owen is on a point of order.
Point of order on relevance and truthfulness of information. You know, when John Badi stands, a ranking member, and says that cost of life has not gone down, I would like him to think like an economist, not as an accountant. You know, Honorable Speaker, you know, John Badi needs to know that when the dollar goes down, you know, the cost of production, the cost of export and import, all these go down. When they go down, they translate to money, real money that goes into the pockets of the people. When they go into the pockets of the people, it means they have more money.
Order, Honorable Owen Baya. That sounds like information. Honorable Badi, complete your...
First of all,
what is out of order? There is no one on the floor. Honorable Roko, nobody is out of order. Honorable Badi, please
as I conclude, you know, when you hear the deputy leader of majority talk about the dollar going, what do you really mean? So talk about things that make sense. Which dollar is going down and which shilling is going up? You know, relevance, I am very relevant. I was talking about the NADCO report. It is Honorable Owen Baya who has brought dollar, which is not in this report. But let me conclude, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, cost of living has not gone down. It will not go down with the way this government is managing our economy. It will not go down. I am telling you, let rains fail even for one season. We will be worse off than even we were last year. So let us not cheat ourselves. Let us address the issue of cost of living with a clear mind, professionalism. Let us bring technical people, people who understand how systems work, not academics like David D. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Next chance to the member for Tigania West, Honorable John Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to pick it up from where Honorable Bandi has left. Honorable Speaker, if we negotiated from the beginning, we will never get to where we were. What has been happening in this country after a stiff political competition, we continue with political competition, even in this House. Honorable Speaker, I think the spirit of the NADCO was a good spirit that we need to emulate. Honorable Speaker, if we also stuck to speaking the truth and telling Kenyans the truth, as guided by Article 35, subsection 2 of the Constitution, I think we would take this nation very far. Honorable Speaker, sometimes you can hear a member say that the housing levy or the affordable housing program is not benefiting people in Azimio. Today, the Honorable Karoli Omondi confirmed that the first phase of the affordable housing has already kicked off or completed in his constituency. It is very unfortunate that some members can say it is only happening in the opposite, in the constituency where the government is represented. That is not true. Let us stick to the truth and let us stop telling Kenyans lies. Honourable Speaker, having said that, let me thank the committee for the good work that they have done. Honourable Speaker, the committee has brought out issues that needed to be scrutinized with sober minds. They brought out issues that have to do with IBC. I don't need to belabor that point, but the point of cost of living. They brought out very key proposals. Reduce the cost of travel by half. Reduce the DSA by 30%. Merge some of the institutions. These are proposals that need to be looked into. Sometimes we also overspend on things that did not matter. Creation of the office of the Prime Minister and that of the leader of opposition. I think if we had an office of the leader of opposition, we would have more organized opposition in this country. And therefore, we will not be having chaotic situations where people just emotionally get to the streets. Fast-tracking the legislative reforms that basically will harmonize the Senate and the National Assembly. We should not be taking each other to court. These are some of the things that you should have done long ago. This is one nation. One nation should be able to speak to oneself and then come up with ways of doing business. Honourable Speaker, the issue of fighting corruption has been articulated in this report. It is one of the thorny issues in this country that needs to be dealt with. And they have given clear proposals on how to do it. Entrenching NCG, National Government Constituencies Development Fund, GAF, and the Senate Oversight Fund. I will be bringing proposals, Honourable Speaker, instead of having the One Development Fund being recognized at the legislative level, it should also be entrenched in the Constitution, so that we don't have MCAs being elected and they cannot be assisted. Or we could have situations where they will not have an equal opportunity to participate in development, as it were. The amendments proposed in the IBC are very critical, and these amendments are good, Honourable Speaker, in the sense that we need to, first of all, make sure that competitiveness is embraced. We need to make sure that they also understand ICT and they also understand the issues of finance. Don't take anybody to IBC because the person is good or the person is a friend or the person is responsive to probably what you consider to be important. Honourable Speaker, there is one proposal that I want to talk to for maybe about a minute. The amendment to Article 138 of the Constitution, which will give create clarity on the role of the other members of the IMBC in terms of the pronouncement of the president when there is a contest, for instance. That needs to be done because there was so much of loose talk of the numbers when the role is clearly articulated as that of the president. Honourable Speaker, we as a country can do better if we talk to each other and not at each other. In this house, we keep on fighting instead of debating and bringing out laws that will help this country. I think NADCO report, or NADCO is a committee that has given us the direction that we should follow even as a house. I thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I support adoption.
Thank you. Member for Moiben.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Sorry, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, once again for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this debate on the NADCO. I want to congratulate the committee, which took their time and spent sleepless nights to come out with this very beautiful report. And Madam Speaker, what I like about the report is that it was conceptualized and it involved the two sides of the political divide, the government and the opposition. Madam Speaker, I would also want to thank the President, Dr. William Ruto, for accepting that this NADCO committee be formed, having won the elections, but he decided that because the country is more important than an individual, we sit together and come up with reforms which will take Kenya to the next, which will take Kenya forward. Madam Speaker, particularly, I'm impressed about the reconstitution of the panel to deal with the IBC. Madam Speaker, this animal, this IBC, has been a thorn for a very long time, and in our elections over and over, we have had issues. I hope this time around, Madam Speaker, we will have both parties agreeing, both sides agreeing, and coming up with individuals who have the interest of Kenya. Madam Speaker, most importantly is the issue of two-third gender in our country. This has been a problem which has been spoken over and over, many year in, year out, and nothing has been agreed. Madam Speaker, in this report, it is very clear that this issue of two-third gender is going to be addressed once and for all, and I hope that going forward, we will conclude it and have everybody, both sides of the gender, represented in every institution in our country. Madam Speaker, the issue of NGCDF being entrenched in the Constitution is very important. This, the NGCDF fund is a very important element in our country. It has transformed so many lives. The funds which come from this fund, we have had schools being built, we have had courts of law being constructed. I mean, it caters for so many. And now it is even more, it's even getting better when we entrench there, when we bring the Ward Development Fund, so that we don't have the members of the county assembly being at the mercy of county governors. This is a very good way forward. And also the Senate Oversight Fund. So we'll have every institution being independent and able to carry out its duties without being, with sufficient funds. The issue of the leader of opposition and the prime cabinet being entrenched in the Constitution is also very relevant, Madam Speaker, so that every time we are done with the elections, we don't have to fight over issues. We will be having a leading the president, and we also have a leader of opposition, and it will be very important because the opposition will be able to stand alone and carry out their issues, and government also can continue, and the opposition can carry out its oversight processes in a very straightforward matter. My time is up, Madam Speaker. Thank you for giving me the opportunity on behalf of the people of Moibin.
Thank you. Member for Arieda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion for adoption of the report. In the words of Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, the report may not be perfect, but it's work in progress worth supporting, and I do support it. Madam Speaker, it is important to note two areas which I think are the most urgent. I will not cover the rest. One, it is important to note that under Article 89(2), the window we were given for reconstitution and re-examination of the boundaries of constituencies actually expires this month, the 8 to 12-year window. It is extremely important that we adopt this report and then move the necessary constitutional amendments, which I want to suggest should be the first standalone constitutional amendment, to extend this period. Perhaps not so much to tie to a year, but to tie to a period. Instead of 8 to 12, we could say 10 to 17. We will have resolved the mischief that the report is trying to resolve without getting into the quagmire that we might be if we try to do this thing before the next election. Secondly, is the audit of the 2022 general elections. Most people fear this because they think we'll be re-examining and revisiting the declaration of results and who won and who did not win. Far from it. Article 81(2) of our Constitution is very clear. Every election, and it's not just for the president, every election must be transparent, it must be accountable, it must be efficient. And those three words ought to be demonstrated at any time any Kenyan wants to see how it was done. It will bring settlement, not just for the past, but for the future, in terms of the elections when we are moving this way. Now, I know that this kind of report requires goodwill. For us to move forward, we will require that goodwill. I am not quite sure why we've taken 4 months since 25th of November to even table this report here. I do not know whether that is consistent with goodwill. But I do know, having been in the first process, that we were beleaguered by absence of goodwill at certain stages. I want to really urge that if we are to go this way, there must be goodwill. I want to say that contrary to what some people think, this report is actually not inconsistent with the judgment that was issued by the High Court just a fortnight ago. Indeed, in that judgment, the judge correctly observed that issues like constitution of the panel is a political question that should be left to politicians under the political doctrines question. But the judge found it necessary to come to that judgment because the process was delaying. Had we started this immediately the report was out, we'd probably have forestalled that kind of decision. But there's nothing lost because the judge is saying, do this within 90 days. The report is recommending, let us do it within 90 days. It is possible for those 90 days to coincide if there's goodwill. Even if we didn't, if there was goodwill, it is possible for the two principals who initiated the process to have a situation where there's consensus and discussion in terms of the names that will be recommended, so that when the names come here for the IEBC commissioners, we do not end up in voting and confrontation as sometimes we are given to. Having said that, Madam Speaker, I want to say that there are areas that will require more careful navigation. It is not to say we don't adopt the report. As we adopt it, we will require more careful navigation. One of them is whether we require a referendum. My casual glance of the report suggests we will in 4 different areas. The second one is this thing of recommending a Senate of 7 years. That will require us to really re-examine a number of things. The third one is the idea of a staggered election. There's a host of reasons why the general election is held on the same day. And if we are to interfere with it, we have to navigate very carefully. Lastly, Madam Speaker, is the question of the leader of opposition and the office of the Chief Prime Cabinet Secretary. We will have to re-examine our structure of government because the report does not go that far. It does not say whether these officers are to be in this house and what role they are to play. That is left for us. So, Madam Speaker, I support with the caution that we need to start thinking more in terms of giving intention to the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Member for Sigowet Soin, Honorable Justice.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this very important report. First and foremost, Madam Speaker, I want to record that I'm in support of the report. I'm in support of the report, Madam Speaker, because when we are given the 9 legislative proposals, we should be in a position to cure at least 2 or 3 major issues that have always brought contention and polarization in this country. The one that comes to mind, Madam Speaker, is electoral justice. When shall we have it right in this country so that when our people go to elections, Madam Speaker, we do not resort to any other means to have our grievances sorted out apart from what is provided in the Constitution. Madam Speaker, I don't want to speak to all the issues. I want to single out 3 issues which I'll speak to. Madam Speaker, IEBC is an institution that we have constantly created and recreated in this country. but it has never provided us with the confidence that when we do elections, the elections are truly reliable and elections which represent the interest of the people. Madam Speaker, even if we do create another IBC, and the systems, the structures, and the people in that institution do not do what is right, Madam Speaker, this will be an exercise in futility. I want, Madam Speaker, that when those legislative proposals are brought, we look critically at the structure of IBC, and we look critically at the systems in IBC. Let us also look at the methodologies of doing elections in this country. And finally, Madam Speaker, we must have people of ethical high ground manning IBC. Madam Speaker, I'm opposed to this idea where the principals are given the honors to select members of the panel that will be leading us in the formation of IBC. Let us, Madam Speaker, agree on who will be in the panel. And let's leave that to people who can be able to give us the right men and right women to man IBC. Madam Speaker, when I speak on this issue of World Development Fund, it reminds me of the belief of President Moy, the late President Moy, a long time ago, when he brought the idea of district focus for rural development. Madam Speaker, that was a system of devolution. And in the system of devolution, we want to decentralize as much as possible. And when we bring in the Constitution, the NGCDF, and also the World Development Fund, Madam Speaker, we are giving greater responsibility in the management of our resources to the lowest level possible. That I support, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, finally, I want to speak on the issue of corruption in this country. We lose so much money because of corruption. In some quarters, Madam Speaker, we are told we lose in this country up to 800 billion shillings a year through corruption. Madam Speaker, that dragon which has taken us back in our country, we must slay it once and for all. We are looking forward to the legislative proposal that will kill this dragon called corruption in this country, so that the resources that we generate go for the work that is indeed beneficial to the people of our country. Madam Speaker, with those remarks, I beg to support the report and look forward to the legislative proposals that will give effect to this report. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Kirinyaga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support the NADCO report. Madam Speaker, the rationale behind it was so that we can have a conversation on the way forward in regard to pertinent matters that concern all of us collectively, devoid of party position and ideologies. Madam Speaker, I have skimmed through the report and a few issues picked my side in terms of being in good books with the executive at the county level, find that they're not able to launch any projects for their people, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, these are people who have been elected by their various representatives to ensure that they cater and represent for their interests, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, the 2/3 gender rule is of concern to me, and it is worth noting that the leader of minority has pronounced himself that anything that will be discussed by the multi-sectoral working group in regard to the 2/3 gender rule and any recommendations in regard to the same will be adopted as part of the NADCO report. Madam Speaker, one of the issues that the NADCO report was supposed, rather the committee was supposed to resolve, is the issue of giving effect to the 2/3 gender rule. Madam Speaker, only this House has the authority through Article 27(8) of the Constitution of Kenya 2010
to ensure that we have provided for legislation for giving effect of the 2/3 gender rule. Madam Speaker, of course, we have had discussions back and forth about how to implement the same, and it can only enable to enrich the conversation and ensure that what is brought forth on this floor is something that will be looking to ensure that it caters also for the interest of the Kenyan people in terms of representation. Madam Speaker, I'm also alive to the recommendations to extend the time for delimitation of boundaries. We all know that this was coming up and that the time was lapsing due to the issues at hand, and given the fact that we do not have an IBC, the IBC commissioners, I can see my colleague nodding in agreement. You can see that the report is really a consensus on all sides of the divide. Madam Speaker, it is important to note that the extension of time will allow for a proper review of the boundaries so that we can see whether this House can protect the constituencies that had been protected in the law that is lapsing. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I also note that the Election Offences Amendment Bill is proposing to introduce an offense for any officer who conducts or holds an election in an ungazetted polling station or center. Madam Speaker, I wish to support the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Mombasa.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kutoa sauti yangu katika ripoti hii ambayo imetolea uwiano. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza mimi nataka kupongeza, na nimeona wengi walitoa matakwa yao mengi sana kuhusu zile pesa ambazo zinafaa ziende katika wale MCS wetu, na ni dhahiri kuwa Mheshimiwa Spika, MCS wetu wamekuwa wakihangaika sana. Tunaona wengine wanapewa, wengine hawapewi. Kwa hiyo ikiwezwa kuwekwa katika sheria kuwa ma MCS waweze kupewa pesa za kufanya miradi kule mashinani, inaweza kusaidia sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Jambo lingine ambalo nimeliangalia Mheshimiwa Spika, sijui kama litapewa kipaumbele, japokuwa katika yale maamuzi ya mwisho sikuona Mheshimiwa Spika. Walemavu siku zote wao wameachwa nyuma Mheshimiwa Spika, na ingekuwa ni vizuri kama walemavu wangekuwa pia na mgao wao wenyewe ambao wanaweza wakajipangia mambo yao bila kushughulisha watu wengine tofauti. Mheshimiwa Spika, walemavu wanahangaika na mambo mengi sana katika taifa hili Mheshimiwa Spika, na wanahitaji usaidizi, na huu usaidizi ikiwa kama waweza wakatengewa mgao wao kama walemavu, mgao wao kivyao, inaweza kusaidia sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo lingine ambalo nimeona limegusiwa, mambo ya IBC. Na tuliona mambo yalivyokuwa katika uchaguzi uliopita Mheshimiwa Spika. Ilionekana wazi kuwa 4 imeshinda 3, wakati ambapo ilikuwa ni ngumu sana kuelewa Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo ikiwa kama mambo haya yanaweza kuangaliwa vizuri, yakapigwa msasa, IBC tujue hawa maafisa wa IBC wanapewa uzito gani, ili tuweze kuelewa vizuri kuwa wale wanne wale watatu walipata ushindi mkubwa kwa sababu gani kuliko wale 4 Mheshimiwa Spika. Iweze kupigwa msasa, mambo haya yasiweze kurejelewa Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo lingine ambalo limegusiwa, na mimi napenda kina mama wa bunge hili tuweze kusukuma kwa pamoja, na hata dada yetu waziri Mheshimiwa Aisha Jumwa aweze kusukuma haraka mambo ya 2/3 gender. ile ambayo ni thuluthi tatu kuangalia hali ya jinsia. Mheshimiwa Spika, kina mama tunahitaji nafasi za uongozi, nafasi za kutosha kama inavyoonyesha katika katiba. Mheshimiwa Spika, na ndio ningeweza kumwelezea waziri wetu Mama Aisha Jumwa aweze kuileta haraka ili iingizwe ndani, tuweze kuangalia mambo ya kina mama yanaangaliwa sawa sawa. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo lingine ambalo nimeangalia na napenda kusema, sisi kama viongozi kutoka Pwani tuliweza kulilia kamati hii kuangalia kuwa ile mipaka yetu ambayo inaweza kuingiliwa na wengine wa Garissa na sehemu zingine za Ukambani iweze kulindwa mipaka yetu ya Pwani. Mheshimiwa Spika, na naona imegusiwa hapo. Natumai pia ripoti hii ikiweza kuchukuliwa kwa uzito, sehemu zetu za Pwani zitapata ulinzi na tutabaki na sehemu zetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo lingine ambalo nimeliona pia tuliomba kama viongozi wa kutoka Pwani ni kuwa sisi katika zile constituencies zile zetu ambazo tunazo, Mheshimiwa Spika, zisiweze kupunguzwa. Manake kulikuwa na sintofahamu ama kulikuwa na tetesi kuwa tunaweza kupunguziwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, idadi yetu pia imeongezeka. Kwa hiyo sisi tunaomba badala ya kupunguza waweze kuongeza constituencies zingine katika sehemu zetu. Tutaweza kushukuru sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, wengi wamezungumza na kusema ni kwao, lakini mpaka sasa hali ya maisha, gharama ya maisha iko juu sana. Mheshimiwa Spika, tuweze kusisitiza sote ni wa Kenya, na hata tukizungumza sio kuwa tunachukiana, ni tunataka kuwa gharama ya maisha iweze kurudi chini. Yule mwananchi ambaye ni mnyonge kule chini aweze naye kupata matakwa yake bila kuwa na uzito. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, unga hujashuka bei kama alivyosema mwenzangu, na tunaomba tuweze kusukuma wakulima. Na mimi naona katika mbolea waliuziwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, mbolea ilikuja bure. Wakulima wapewe mbolea bure kwa sababu wanasema mazao yameongezeka. Wakipewa bure mazao yatazidi kuongezeka barabara. Mheshimiwa Spika, na tutapata uchumi wetu unapanda juu vizuri. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hiyo mimi napongeza ripoti hii. Naweza kuipongeza nikisema kama mama Mombasa, ni ripoti nzuri ambayo ikitiliwa maanani Kenya itasonga mbele kama Wakenya moja. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Thank you. Member for Buri, Honorable Mugambi.
Madam Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. From the onset, I want to take this opportunity to commend the committee and say this it has given us a good foundation for onward development of our political economics in this country. But Madam Speaker, I have two issues to make. One, the matter of cost of living. Mr. Speaker, what I expected from this report is apportionment of the revenues that we correct that goes towards productivity in this country. Madam Speaker, there is the money that comes from the national government that is supposed to address the cost of living. And there is money given to the counties that also goes towards the cost of living. Madam Speaker, sectors like water, sectors like agriculture, they all have a direct impact on the cost of living. Yet, Madam Speaker, when you're talking about the cost of living, and according to this report, all the missiles are focused on the national government, which I believe is not fair as far as the national government is concerned. And that's why I'm saying this report should have gone deeper and apportion what the two arms of government are supposed to do in terms of addressing the issue of cost of living. Madam Speaker, the cost of living is a subset of so many factors, and those two are not the only ones, because we have nature. There's no way that we can address the issue of food production without addressing the issue of the land patterns in this country. And that's where I differ with my senior, Honorable Bandi, that if the land fails, we'll go back to the story, the old story. But I want also to challenge ourselves that what the national government and the county government need to address is that when dryness comes, we need to be ready in terms of putting more money in order to generate more water so that our productivity can be kept constant. But all in all, Madam Speaker, the report is good, but let's be real. Let the movers of this discussion be real to themselves. I think it was not very good intention to bring this cost of living because it's a diverse topic which cannot really be put in paper because there are so many factors that come into play. Madam Speaker, the issue of international community, in as far as having a direct impact on what Kenya does, is also a factor that needs to be put into consideration when you're talking about cost of living. Madam Speaker, the issue of delimitation, Madam Speaker, this report falls short of addressing the real criteria and the redefining what the constituencies want and the counties need to follow so that they can be given the status as such. Madam Speaker, this report did not examine that because you find the only aspect that was brought marginalization. There are so many other factors I believe that this report should have addressed to go towards the delimitation. Madam Speaker, this report is a bit biased because it did not address the issue of hardship. There are so many areas in this country which are not defined in terms of hardship and which I thought that aspect should have been brought into this report because you find some counties, some wards, some constituencies having been given the status of hardship while others are not given. And this goes towards the determination of the resources that will need to be put into them. Madam Speaker, the many Kenyans have lost faith in IBC because it has been leaded with a lot of problems. Madam Speaker, I need to ask ourselves, how many Kenyans vote? That's the basic question which has not been answered or asked in this report. You'll find that only an average of 60%. What goes on with the other 40%? And who addresses why they don't vote? So I thought this report will bring that aspect properly, why 40% on average of Kenyans don't vote. Because this is very important. How are their issues being addressed? Why have they lost faith in voting? Why have they lost faith in IBC?
Time is up. Honorable Jackson Kosgei.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the onset, as I take the floor, I wish to support the report and congratulate the NATCO, this committee, for the work well done. As I support, allow me, Madam Speaker, to quote from a statement made by George Washington, who was a general and the first president of the United States of America in 1779 on a constitutional conference. He made a statement, and I wish to quote, "Let us raise a standard to which the wise and honest can repair. The rest is in the hands of God." We would like to take this opportunity to congratulate this committee, and more so the principals involved, His Excellency the President of our Republic, William Samoei Ruto, and the Right Honorable former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, for agreeing as a political divide to provide an opportunity for Kenyans to relook at our Constitution and look at areas that can improve the several concerns of our country. One, it is important for the unity of this country. We have experienced suspicion in every election and electoral cycle. We would like to look into it and understand why Kenyans have disagreed in every election. Second is the issue of IEBC. Madam Speaker, we would like to agree that we have an electoral board or body that can be trusted by both sides in any given election. I also want to appreciate the honorable lady who spoke before me a few minutes ago, that it looks like the report did not speak clearly on the needs for persons with disability in this country. And I'm sure as we progress in the analytical discussion and deliberation in this House on this report, we would be able to put into it. We do not want, and as I represent the interest groups, we do not want to have persons with disability lumped up on an amorphous group called the special group. It has to come out very clear so that their issues can be addressed uniquely. I have been traveling in and out of this country for many years. And one of the experiences I have, for example, is the very insensitive nature our point of entry management is. For example,